We had these guys for 3 weeks now with Traverse and Dallas and everything. What excites you about this group that you've got here?
Well, what excites me is that we've got a very balanced group with a lot of depth. If you look at the roster, I believe we have 10 plus rookies coming in the lineup this year. And you look at our back end, we got a veteran back end, and we got a solid goaltending. So I'm really excited. It's probably the first time since I've been here in 6 years that we've had a full turnover of players. The last player being Travis Moore, who retired this year. And so it's exciting times for the Dallas Stars and exciting times for the Texas Stars.
Overall, just from the early going of practice, what do you like about this team, and what do you see across the board?
Well, we haven't played much as a team in a game. We only have two exhibition games. But from what I've seen through Traverse City, the Dallas Stars exhibition games, and obviously our two exhibition games, is we have a bigger team with more speed, and we have more skill. If you look at the full group, we're going to probably have a few players sitting out that probably could have played in our lineup last year. So I'm excited moving forward to work with this group. Having that many rookies in your lineup, it's going to be a little bit of a process moving forward, but their learning curve is going to have to be pretty quick and pretty steep, especially at the start to be in this competitive league. If you look at some of the teams in the American Hockey League that are assembled right now, there's a lot of veteran hockey clubs, so we're going to have to be ready right from the get-go here on Friday night.
What do you look at in terms of the upside of players like Felleber and Robertson?
Well, everybody has a different upside, different skill set. If you look at Robertson, he is a pure scorer. He gets around the net. He's going to score a goal. He's going to make a play. His game, his challenge will be rounding out his game to make it a 200-foot game. But in the meantime, we're going to try and utilize his offense right off the hop because he's such a special player. Ty Fellhaber, on the other hand, is another player, a little bit different skill set offensively, but still can score goals at a different rate. So we're excited to have those two guys in our lineup. You'll see both guys on the power play, trying to put them in a spot where they can succeed. And if you look at some of the other guys, Riley Tofty, who's a former first-round pick, 6'7", skates like the wind, big, strong guy. He's going to probably be a more prototypical player than he was in college. If you look on the back end, Joseph Ciccone, a young defenseman that we had at the end of last year, very good defenseman. I think he's a future Dallas Star. He's going to be a big part of our back end. And even down the middle, Rhett Gardner, who just came out of University of North Dakota, big, strong player, 23 years old. He's probably a little bit ahead of the curve just because he's a little bit of an older player. So lots of pieces to with the additions of, like Bayreuther, Hanley, Hetherington, Gleason, who's in his second year. Nick Camano looks really well. Adam Masher looks like he's taking a step. So I really like the outlook of our group. And now we got to play the games, and we'll make the adjustments as we move along.
How helpful is it when you have six guys that got the call up last year and got to experience that kind of success, that Dallas had last year, when you have that many rookies?
Well, that's the strength of the organization right now. Dallas has done a great job of providing some depth. And we've had these players, six players that went up last year, and they want to get back up there. They've had a taste for it. They've had good training camps. So now there's a little bit of an internal competition with the new kids coming in and the old regime. So that's good for us because we talk about that healthy competition in practice to push each other, and we want to push each other in the games. And obviously, when the time comes for a person to get called up, they have a lot of different choices to pick from.
Having a leadership group in place definitely helps right off the get-go, doesn't it?
It does. You know what? Dylan Hetherington was named our captain. He is a perfect example of the type of person you want to lead this team. He's got the dressing room. He's got a strong voice, and he leads by example on the ice. And then our leadership group has been outstanding. Michael Mersch and Joel Hanley have been named assistant captains. Great leaders, prototypical pros that are great examples for our young players coming into our team. And then our leadership group, you got Reese Scarlett, Gavin Bayreuther, Tanner Kira, who just came in, and then obviously we got a goaltender, Landon Bowe. So these players are well looked after on the leadership side, and these are the guys that are going to lead this team moving forward in the season.
What did that playoff experience do for Dylan?
I think anybody that went up and played in the playoffs, Joel Hanley played very well, Dylan played. And those guys had a taste now in those special moments. Obviously, the year before they went to the Calder Cup Finals, Dylan has won a Calder Cup with Cleveland. But for those guys, now they have a taste, and they just they want to take their game another step further. And I think with the leadership role with Dylan Hetherington, it's only going to allow him to have that confidence, to have that next step in his game.
You mentioned a leadership group. How do you integrate a former leader now into the coaching side of things with Travis Moore?
Do you know what? It's interesting. We went and had spent a day with Tom Herman and his staff there at the U of T, and they had a guy in their group. He was the juice guy, the energy guy. And for us to bring Travis Moore back in the group here, he's kind of a skill development guy for us, and he's a guy that we can lean on and ask him. He's played the games. He's been into the fight on the ice. and we can get some information bounce back off him. But he's been a real good energy guy in a room with the young kids. He's been the juice guy for us, and it's kind of nice to have a guy like that because it's really tough for a coach to be that guy every day to be the cheerleader. It's good to have a guy who's kind of on the side. He's kind of a buffer between the coaching staff and the players, and he's got a great relationship with a lot of these players already from last year, so it just makes it such an easy transition moving forward, not only for Travis, but for the coaches and the players.
With how much he meant to the organization, still means to the organization, is it kind of strange knowing that he's not going to suit up, though?
You know what? He's been here for 10 years. He's been a part of three finals teams. He's won a championship in 14, MVP of the. He's the face of the organization, and now the fans get a chance to mingle with him when he's doing some off-ice appearances and working with sponsorships and growing the game of hockey in Austin. And what a you can't find a better player to do that. And obviously he's made his home here in Austin with his three kids and his wife. It's just a great fit, and for what he's given this organization in 10 years, it's great to see them giving something back to him and being a part of it moving forward.
What did you take from getting to spend some time with Tom?
It was interesting to see the dynamics of football compared to hockey, but what I saw was just the orchestration of the practices. They go 3 hours, but they had 110 guys going in all directions with their coaching staff. It's a little bit bigger than ours, but the same fundamentals and dynamics of the coaching techniques and what they're trying to achieve and to what we're trying to achieve was pretty well similar. So it was interesting. We try and play a fast-paced game. They were trying to practice fast and increase their pace of their game. So a lot of the same fundamentals that the coaches are trying to put into place, and a lot of the same identities and just rules of coaching is pretty well similar.
Did you guys get to give each other any advice?
Well, no, we did. We kind of chat a little bit. We're going to try and hopefully get their staff out to a game here in the second half of the season after they win a championship. They've had 5 coaches that are big fans of the Longhorns now, and hopefully they become Texas Star fans.
You mentioned some of the rookies. With the pedigree that some of them have, how quickly do you expect them to kind of take to the AHL?
Well, when you have a bunch of young kids in your group like this, everybody's going to have different learning curves. And some guys are going to come out of the gates pretty quick. Some guys are going to hit the wall a little faster. So you have to balance each rookie. And some guys won't play every game. Some guys will play every game. Depends on where they are in the lineup. But that's going to be the situation for us. Our hardest thing is we have to make sure we communicate with the rookies every day, and just we can kind of see when they're hitting the wall. And if we have to back off them a little bit in certain instances or sequences in the game, we will. And but when you have a first-year player like Rhett Gardner, who's 23, he's kind of ahead of the curve a little bit. He's more mature. Or when you have a first-year player coming in like Jason Robertson, who's very highly skilled, but he's a young 20-year-old player, there's going to be just a different balance of development.
You mentioned having to balance a bunch of rookies. How does your coaching experience in Major Junior help coach a bunch of young guys like that?
Well, you know what? We talk about dealing with millennials. We talk about coaching these young players. They're hockey players. And at the end of the day, they want to be taught. They want to be pushed. And you have to massage them in the right way to make sure you're not too hard on them. And that learning opportunity, when it's there, you have to take it. And sometimes you just have to back off and let them play and make mistakes. That's the new player. Back in the old days, when you made a mistake, you sat the bench or you got a little pat or a tap in the back. Nowadays, you just kind of got to manage the situation, and every player is different. And finding out how each player reacts to coaching is the art of coaching.